Hello, hello, hello. So, have you ever had, and I'm sure you have, but have you ever had the experience where you've had like a download, you've had like a really inspirational idea that's come through, a concept, maybe it's a creative project, maybe you've suddenly had like a channeling come through, you've had some new codes come through, and it's at that point, when it just feels so delicious because it's just so expansive. You feel so expansive, you feel so good. It's almost like this blissful, like, state of illumination, which is amazing. And then, bit by bit, you start to lose it. Now, this also can come through when maybe you've read a really inspiring book, or you've been on some sort of course or workshop, and you get it, you feel expanded, you feel illuminated, you almost feel invincible because everything just feels so perfect and so good. But bit by bit, there's like a dripping tap. It kind of seeps out of you to the point that within a couple of days or weeks or months, you kind of lost it. You've kind of lost that connection to that feeling and to your ability, especially if it was something that was coming through, something like a new creative project or something new that was coming through for you, you weren't actually able to bring it through into the physical. So it came through, but somehow you couldn't birth it. And that is what I want to talk to you about today. So it was sometime last year, I can't remember quite when I just knew I wanted to bring through this program called Renaissance. And I didn't know why, but it just something came through. And about a month ago, I suddenly got the hit, this is the time to start working on and bringing through Renaissance, which, when I look at the astrology, was absolutely perfect. And the reason for that is that we are very much in Chiron conjunct the North Node in Aries. And essentially what that means when you're looking at the nodes of fate, and especially in the North Node, it's like your destiny, it's your purpose, it's the fast tracking to that. And when it's to do with Chiron in Aries, we're talking about the wounded I am. So what we're talking about here is that right now, going all the way through the eclipse season and to the solar eclipse on, I think it's the 8th of April, and throughout I would say the whole of April as well, there's a really, really big push of a rebirth coming through, like really, really big. And this rebirth is so deep that it is challenging and confronting the very core and essence of who you believe yourself to be. Now, I'm not talking about your belief in terms of your understanding of your divinity. I'm talking about who you believe to be and how your life is mirrored to that. So I'm talking about the mirrored reality of who you believe yourself to be, and that includes subconsciously, right? And so that right now is breaking down. And if we can surrender, if we can break down, if we can dissolve, if we can let go in this process that is right now, all the way through March and coming into the eclipses, the more we can do it, especially over March, the easier it will be when the eclipses come in, because we will have done the legwork, as it were. We would have done the majority of the work to support ourselves in that rebirthing process. And that is why I feel I was guided to channel through and bring through Renaissance. So whenever I bring something through, I go through that process myself. And so for the last week, 2 weeks, it's been very intense for me, because I'm literally going through a rebirth. Now, I know sometimes, when you say, oh, we're going for a rebirth, oh, that's nice. There's got a really nice feel to it when you say rebirth. But what I want you to consider right now is just like a normal birthing process. So for any of you that have been through a birthing process, you know what I'm talking about here. It is intense, without a doubt. And so what I've brought through, and what I'm still in the process of going through this, and I will be throughout the whole of March, because the program is birthing through key astrological points to amplify it even more, which is super, super exciting. So in the lead up to the spring equinox, which is over the 19th and 20th of March, what I'm bringing through is the Empress, because whenever you go through a birthing process, you want a midwife. You want a midwife. And the Empress is that midwife. And so I've channeled through a whole section just on how you can support yourself in that process. Now, the thing is, for a lot of you, whether you know it or not, what's coming through is like a whole new reality, a whole new way of being, a whole new way of doing. And a big part of that is you accessing higher spiritual gifts and talents. Now, some of you may be aware of that process. Others, you may be aware of the fact, I just know that I've got gifts. I know it, but I just can't quite access them, or I'm not living them, I'm not doing them, not utilizing them. I'm too scared. I don't want to be visible with them. And so for a lot of you, I feel this is the process that's going on, where these gifts are coming through more. It's like they're coming online a lot more. And that's so that you can be more of service, as a lot of humanity are kind of waking up from their slumber. So there's like different levels of awakening. It's like we're going a mass spiritual awakening right now. Massive. Lots of outside triggers. But for some of us, it's to do with our spiritual gifts. It's to do with accessing those spiritual gifts and being able to hold them. And it's the holding of them that I really want to speak to right now, because that is where I feel so many of us get really stuck. So like I said, you may have had an insight, a channeling, something's come through, a creative project, something, and you may know it as a tangible thing, or you may feel it as a frequency, like and it feels so real. You get it, you sense it, you got it, but you can't hold it. You're struggling to hold it. Now, the reason for that is that in any birthing process, there is an element in the lead up to the birth of a holding and nourishing and a nurturing of that thing. It's what the womb does. If you think about when there's a baby growing inside of you, the womb there is nourishing and nurturing that child to grow. And that's the same for a creative project. That's the same for a gift that's coming through. So let's just talk about, because there's many different aspects of this, but let's just talk about a spiritual gift coming through. A spiritual gift comes through, it's actually comes through from your oversoul, and it's to do with past life aspects where you've mastered more, but it's got to come through. But because it's linked to your oversoul, it's vibrational. And so what I mean by that is that your soul has to also go through a rebirthing process. This is why it's a huge process to birth and anchor and bring gifts out in the world, because your soul has got to evolve. It's got to be a vibrational match for that gift that you're bringing through. So what that means is that you go for whole heart expansion in that process. And in that heart expansion, you have to clear, you have to release. So there's a lot of grief. A lot of grief comes up, and most of us struggle to hold that. We think there's something terribly wrong. We don't understand what's going on. We struggle to hold that within ourselves. And that is one, that first module that I'm currently bringing through speaks to that. It's for that. It's to support you to midwife yourself through tapping in to the Empress frequency. But it goes a lot deeper than that, because we're also working with the womb. We're working with not so much the physical womb, but the physical womb can be a portal in, which I talk all about, but also it's to do with your etheric womb and your cosmic womb as a gateway. So again, I go into all of that in that Empress, because the Empress energy is key to all of that. So to me, it's very much a soul. So if you're doing any sort of spiritual rebirth, it will absolutely involve a soul rebirth. Otherwise, there's a missing link. That's why so many of you feel that missing link. It's like you get it spiritually. You can even connect to the frequencies spiritually, right? You can feel it. You get it. But the minute it tries to come all the way through, it's at that vibrational level, which is that soul level, and the physical level that it kind of just gets stuck. And that's where you need the midwife. That's where you need the Empress. So the more you know and can tap into her, and also working with your cosmic womb and your etheric womb, whether you have a womb or not is irrelevant. It's just that if you do have a womb, because you then got a physical aspect to it, it's just an extra portal in, but it's not necessary at all. I want to really emphasize that. And so in doing that, that is how you actually are able to, with ease and grace, really anchor, bring through, nourish and nurture, and then we work with the Emperor to support you to solidify it even more. But we first need to work with the Empress, and that's why I'm working with the Empress right now, leading up all the way to the spring equinox, because the spring equinox is the epicenter of one of the portals for rebirth on the planet. There are others, but the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere really supports that energy. So we work for the next few weeks as we get up to that point. And that's going to help so much on that point. Now, the actual rebirth point is very intense. So you could see the rebirth point as a labor point. So when you think of the difference between the pregnancy, how long the pregnancy is compared to the labor point, which is a lot shorter, but way more intense. Now, that intensity and how you work through the labor, I feel a lot of it is how you set up and work through your pregnancy. Again, I talk a lot about that, and will be in that second module, which I actually doing live. And I think it's going to be 2 lives I'm going to do, because there's a lot of information that I want to share around that actual rebirthing process to support you to be able to really rebirth and really bring through whatever it is you're bringing through. And a lot of it, especially if it's spiritual gifts, will be a whole recalibration and a reshifting of your identity that has to go with that, as well as that whole soul rebirthing, which is a whole shifting emotionally, so shifting vibrationally, so that your physical body and your emotional body are a frequency match for those gifts coming through. That is so much the key, and that is what Renaissance is going to support you to do during this really, really powerful time of rebirth. So right now, it is on an early bird pricing of $222 for lifetime access, and it just keeps on growing because as I keep channeling, more and more comes through. But it consists of 3 main modules: the Empress, the Rebirth, and the Emperor. The Empress I'm bringing through right now. There's already videos and activations there for you to jump in straight away right now. I'm still completing the Empress point. Then over the equinox, I think it'll be 2 lives, maybe even 3 if it needs to be, because I don't want them to be too long. I want them to be manageable. Again, don't worry if you can't turn up live. That doesn't matter at all, because it will all go into a replay. And then afterwards, the Emperor will be released, I think, over the solar eclipse. But also what I would like to record over Easter, because Easter Sunday is like another very, very powerful rebirthing point. So I'm going to channel at that point a Merkaba journey from the baptistry in Florence, all around the rebirth. And I also feel drawn to do something over the lunar eclipse, but right now I don't know. So I am just following and going with the flow and channeling it through as it comes along. By the end of these 2 months, you will have a huge program that is going to support you whenever you are going through any rebirthing process of any kind. So this might be you're in preparation because you want to birth a child. This will support you hugely in that process. Maybe you're wanting to birth and you know that you have some sort of project in mind. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a business. Maybe you've brought through a channeling, and you're wanting to bring through more of your spiritual gifts, and so it's really being able to access your gifts and really ground them in a way that is relevant and that is accessible for you, and to be of service to others through that. There's some sort of structure around it that you can then, there's got some form to it, right? So I'll give you the link, or if you're watching this as a video on any of my media channels, just put in the comment cosmic and I shall send you the link to join. Right now there is no sales page because this is an early bird pricing, as I get the sales page out, as I get everything out, the price will go up quite a bit. So this is a great time right now. If you just know, if it just feels right, you just think, yes, it's got to just be a hell yes, that feels right. Then just comment below with Cosmic, or if it's in an email, you'll see the link there to join. So much love. Take care. Bye.